Have you ever received a gift where the box it was packaged in had no connection whatsoever with what was inside? My mother used to take allergy shots, and while I lived at home, I used to administer them to her. And she always had syringes on hand, and one Christmas she had gotten me a gift, and so I proceeded to rip through the wrapping paper, only to find a box labeled sterile syringes. Although I was fairly certain that she had not gotten me syringes for Christmas, it did kind of catch me off guard at first. When I opened the box, I was pleasantly surprised to find a very nice necktie. The same is true for human beings. What's on the outside is not always directly connected to what's on the inside. And therefore, the only true, accurate view that we will ever have of ourselves is the divine view. We must see ourselves the way that God sees us. We must assess our worth by the same criteria that God uses. An accurate view of oneself must come from the divine vantage point, because this assessment is the only assessment that is accurate in every single detail. You never get a completely accurate reading when your self-esteem is tied to abilities, outward appearance, or what others think of you. A healthy self-image comes from seeing yourself the way that God sees you. The Lord does not observe us outwardly. He does not merely look at the outer coating like humans tend to do. 1 Samuel 16:7 tells us that God sees not as man sees, for man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Our Lord looks past the covering to what's encased on the inside, because the heart reveals the true nature and character of a person. Unfortunately, there are many in our world today who have been exalted and revered for all the wrong reasons. It seems that all you really have to do in today's world to be considered exceptional or noble is to have a lot of money and or a lot of good looks. And those who do not meet society's standards, those who are poor and not very pretty, are deemed as having little value. But if some of the world's so-called beautiful people were turned inside out and revealed as God sees them, how poor and ugly they might appear. The divine vantage point is the only completely accurate view there is, and it is the only view by which we can build our self-esteem upon. Any other assessment, whether it be appearance, ability, others' opinions, wealth, or whatever, is just too unstable. It's a black hole from which many people never escape. What happens when a supermodel gains super weight or gets super old? What happens when a super basketball player has a super career-ending injury? What happens when the super rich loses it all in a super bad investment? What then? Where do you get your feelings of self-esteem and personal worth when everything on which you have based your value has vanished? It's as if you spent your entire life climbing the ladder of success only to find that it was leaning against the wrong building. The fact that God created you in His own image establishes your value. Our personal worth is inseparably tied to the fact that we were made by God. Your value is found in the fact that you were uniquely framed and stamped with the image of the Almighty, and your worth started even before you were born. Before you were born, you had value. Before you were born, you were esteemed. Before you were born, you were priceless. You were created for a reason and a purpose, and it was not to be self-loathing, self-deprecating, and self-destructive. You were created to bring God pleasure through loving obedience and faithful service. And your life finds meaning only through a relationship with the one who created you. Listen to me. You need to stop viewing yourself through the eyes of the world and start seeing yourself through the eyes of God. By the world's standards, you may be ugly. You may be homely. You may be too big. You may be too poor. You may be too wretched. But the world doesn't see someone stamped with the image of God. And maybe you're someone who can strut sitting down. Maybe you're one of those people who has looks and money and status and an inflated ego. Understand, God is not impressed. Your value is directly connected to the one who made you, the one who gave His Son for you, and the one who knows your heart. Therefore, you had better see yourself the way He sees you. You're priceless to God, not because you're somebody, and you're priceless to God even if you're a nobody. Your value is found in the one who made you and the one who died for you.